All right, hello and welcome to another one of these personal board of director events. We run these annually with myself, Melissa Perri, Gibson Biddle, but this year we've got even more of an exciting event. We've got a new member to our team, Miss Teresa Torres. So first of all, I'm going to welcome the whole team onto the show. How are we doing, everybody?
Good.
Doing great.
So there is one sad moment. Gib is actually traveling today. He wasn't able to reschedule. He's trapped somewhere in Idaho. Who knows if he'll ever escape there, but hopefully he will and will come back with us in the future. But so today's just going to be the three of us, and we're going to share our stories and reflections from the past year. What did we learn through 2024? What do we aim to achieve in 2025? And it's a great way for us, really, we found, to just share what we're thinking about, what we're struggling with, some of the successes that we've enjoyed, insights that we've learned. So just so everybody gets to know or familiar with everybody who's going to be on the call, yeah, Melissa, do you want to say hi, introduce yourself, and let people know a little bit about your focus in business?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I am Melissa Perri. I am the author of a book called Escaping the Bill Trap and more recently Product Operations. My day job is that I run a company called Product Institute where I help train product managers at a lot of companies. Many of them are going through digital transformations. We also have a lot of SaaS growth stage companies there too. So it's all pre-recorded videos doing training at scale. I also come in and help executives figure out how to lead a product management transformation. So I've been working with them closely to set up that infrastructure and figure out what's that roadmap look like as they go through it. I also host the Product Thinking podcast. So I do a weekly podcast on Wednesdays where I interview product people and chat about all of those things. And just keeps going. And I run a course called CPO Accelerator that helps VPs of product and first-time CPOs understand what it takes to be a chief product officer. So that's a little bit about me. Teresa, do you want to introduce?
And you do take weekends off, remember, just in case people are wondering, like, when everybody on this call actually relaxes. All right, Teresa, what about yourself?
Yeah, hi, everybody. I'm Teresa Torres. I'm going to follow Melissa's format almost exactly. I'm the author of Continuous Discovery Habits. I also run a training business. We focus on teaching cross-functional product teams product discovery skills. So how do we make better decisions about what to build? That spans anything from how do we define good outcomes, conduct good customer interviews, assumption tests, and all the supporting habits required to do those things well. I blog at producttalk.org. I don't have a podcast, although I do get a lot of requests from people who want to be on my podcast that doesn't exist. And I think that's the big hits.
Awesome. Okay. Well, yeah, it's fantastic. I've obviously known you two for a long time, and it's always amazing to see the work that you're doing. So my name's Barry O'Reilly. I'm an entrepreneur, advisor, and author. So currently, I'm the co-founder and chief innovation officer at Nobody Studios. We're a high-velocity venture studio. Our goal is to try and do 100 companies over the next 5 years. It's pretty audacious. We've got about 14 companies going at the moment, which is super fun. I also do advising work, obviously with companies, primarily around leadership, strategy, and product development. And I also, for my troubles, wrote 2 books, one Lean Enterprise, which is part of the Lean series with Eric Ries, and on Learn. So that's my little story. You've some great people here that are going to share our stories together today. One of the things that's really sort of important for us is to ask lots of questions. Half of the fun of doing this as a live stream is it's a chance to engage with people and ask questions, things that you think might be interesting, might be helpful for you. Maybe you're trying to start a business, maybe you're a leader inside a business. Hopefully some of the things that we will share will inspire you on challenges you're facing or ideas that you're trying to tackle. And really this is just a chance for everyone to sort of share openly, build in the open, and do what we're doing. So yeah, Melissa's going to talk us through how we're going to do this format. Yeah, you'll have lots of opportunities to engage with us and hear our stories. So Melissa, yeah, loads of people in the comments. First of all, don't be shy. As many of these comments that people put out there, we'll definitely try and bring up. And giving a shout out to Guy here, who's on LinkedIn. There's lots of people we can see already on different channels. So yeah, do say hi as we go along. So Melissa, over to you.
Awesome. So we started this format called the camps model a while ago, and we were trying to figure out how to bring some structure into a reflection and what was important to us. And camps stands for community, autonomy, mastery, purpose, and scale. So at first we started with camp and then we added scale on there. I think that was my addition last time that we were doing this. But really community is about how we're engaging with our communities. What does community mean to us? What does that look like in our lives, especially since a lot of us are solo as well. So it's like, how do we build community there? Autonomy really is about our control over our own work, what we get to operate on, how we feel about that. Mastery is about, are we mastering skills? Do we feel like we have mastery over whatever it is that's our focus for the year? Purpose is really our feeling on, do we feel like we're doing work that's meaningful and is driven towards our purpose? And scale is, for me, like I introduced that more about reach. Do we feel like we're actually reaching a wide audience when we do it? Is it actually important to us? And people will have different opinions on that depending on how important that is to them. So we rank all of that on a scale from 0 to 10 every year. And then we kind of reflect on where we're at and make changes based on that. So that's our little camps model that we're going to go through. So we're going to kick off with Teresa. So first timer on here. It's funny because we all put what we had for last year on our scores, and then we compare it to this year. So Teresa's just all said 0, but obviously I don't think they were a true 0, but it's kind of funny to read her responses to it. So Teresa, reflecting on 2024, tell me a little bit about how you rated community and what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I mean, since I started at 0, I'm crushing my outcomes.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Community was actually my toughest one. I think this is a big thing I'm struggling with right now. So I rated this a 6. Just yesterday, I wrote a blog post that was sort of my annual reflection letter. And one of the big themes in there was I've been struggling with burnout for about 2 years. And a lot of it I'm realizing is because I spend too much of my day in what I'm going to call low quality interactions. And I don't mean this as a judgment on the people that I'm interacting with. It's more a nature of the interaction itself. So it could be anything from like AI generated comments on LinkedIn, which are currently pissing me off, to like people just asking really, in my blog post, I call them lazy questions. So like, how do I interview customers? Okay, well, there's like 4,000 free resources to help you with that question so that you can like learn the basics before you ask a more detailed question. Like, I tried this in an interview, here's what went wrong, right? And so I was just getting really overwhelmed with like, I spend all day, this is like 90% of what is coming my way. And so I realized last year that I have to be way better about just filtering it out. And this is really hard for me. Like, I'm a coach. I want to help everybody. Like, if you ask me a question, if you take the time to email me, I really want to respond, but it's soul crushing and I can't do it anymore. So I'm still learning. I feel like I really tried hard last year to set better boundaries. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I argue with people on LinkedIn constantly. So I'm terrible at respecting my own boundaries. But I think my big insight is I think this is what's driving a lot of my burnout. So I just have to get better at it. I don't have answers. So if anybody has advice or feedback, I would love it. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm starting to invest more in like the communities that I control and doing less on social media. So like I run a Slack community for all my students. I run a Substack called Product Talk Daily. I'm trying to like build community there, getting people to comment. So for those of you that get that, please comment. It's not working quite yet. But just trying to like be more diligent about creating good community spaces rather than relying on algorithmic social media for that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. The topic of bots is killing me as well. And just internet trolls in general. I feel like I feel like I get excited to see people's comments on LinkedIn, and a lot of them are just rephrasing what I said in a question. And then I'm like, but I answered it in the video that I put out there. So why are you asking it again? And then people are like, oh, you don't answer my questions. And I'm like,
you know what I struggle with is like, this is such a first world problem, right? Like, it's great that people are commenting on our stuff. And like, this is where I'm really torn. Like all these AI generated comments are just getting my post more visibility. But like, I don't care. Like, I don't need the 40th person, the 40,000 person to see my post. I would rather like have a real conversation with 10 people. And it just makes it so hard. Like some of these AI tools are actually getting good enough that some of these comments look real. And then I engage with them. I take the time to write a thoughtful reply and I never hear back. Like they never reply. And then like 5 days go by and I realize that exact same person wrote a comment on every single thing that I posted and is not engaging. I'm like, oh, you're a bot. And I took the bait.
Or it's not even a bot. It's a lot of times I've been getting that too from people who are trying to promote their visibility on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So they generate their own stuff. So it's a real human, but it's
okay, here's the irony. So yesterday I wrote a blog post. I complained about AI generated comments. I included a screenshot of 2 AI generated comments. I blacked out the names. One of the people in that screenshot commented today on my blog post complaining about AI generated comments with an AI generated comment.
That's hilarious.
And they're both like, and it's a PM coach. So of course they're trying to get their name out and build their brand. And like, I get it. Everybody's trying to build their brand and that's like the thing to do these days. Maybe it's time for me to stop being a visible brand and go hide in a hole. I don't know. Yeah. Like it's so demoralizing.
One thing that's really fascinating though, what you also paired that with earlier, Teresa, was this idea of focusing on communities, you know, because there's as you say, it's almost an element of quality and commitment for people to be part of that. Yeah. You know, that was even just as you shared, that was a little aha for me. I was like going, that's actually fascinating, where it encourages me want to invest more time in a community to build rather than these open public forums where, you know, the internet's starting to feel like it's just bots talking to bots with humans in the loop to like describe what you are both experiencing. You know, it's it's fascinating.
It's not easy though. Like I'll be totally honest. Like our Slack community has had a lot of ups and downs. I changed it so now it's pretty much a student community, and I tried to make it more of like a for everybody community. There was a low cost monthly option. It didn't work. It was just we got too many of those lazy questions with people that didn't want to put in the work. And last year I shifted it to a student community. It's much better, but it's also much smaller. But I'm at the point where I'm going to take small and engaged over large and promotional. It's just kind of where I am.
A ton of those large Slack channels do just become people promoting their stuff over and over. Like I'm not a great community builder, and I think I like put that in there too. Like it's not my thing. And I really respect the people who can do it well, because like I don't even know how to get started with it. But we have a Slack channel for CPO Accelerator, and that's probably the only thing that just keeps going without me having to do a lot, because people ask genuine questions there, but they were in class with people, so they know them. So they're like willing to say it, or they do like these intro meetings where they have one-on-ones. So they kind of know the faces, they kind of get to know some of the people in it at least. And it's probably like, I think we got like 200 something people in it right now. Probably like 2 something, but it's small enough where it's not overwhelming. 300 people, but it's small enough where it's not overwhelming. And sure, not everybody participates in it, but they all know that they went through the same experience and they have like a like-minded, situation. So I feel like it makes it a little more open. And that's been good. But again, it's probably not as active as I would love it to be, but every once in a while it'll start going off like crazy. And I'm like, oh, good, people are chatting. and then it dies down a little bit more.
This is reminding me, like one of the things I am doing on the community side that I really love, so first of all, as part of our Slack community, we do monthly office hours and monthly community calls. And we have I gutted the community. Like when I made changes to it, I pretty much killed the number of people in the community. But the people that stuck around are so engaged. And these calls are some of my favorite things in the world. I have people that literally show up every week. They're bringing what they're working on at work. They're asking for help. They're asking for help when they don't even need it. Like they're already doing great. They're, it's because they're willing to put in the work. And then the other thing that I started doing last year that has gone really well is I hold these monthly product leader discussion sessions. And the premise is just this, If you're a leader, so somebody who's managing multiple product squads who are trying to put the discovery habits into practice, you can come to this conversation. And what we do is we have one leader share their context and what their biggest challenges are. Everybody asks a bunch of questions, and then the last third of the call, we advise. And what's great about it is everybody relates to the person who's sharing. Everybody's been there before or faced something similar. It's really fun to dig into somebody's unique context. And then it's really fun to advise. And then the person who shared, it gets a ton of ways that they can kind of take their next steps. And then they kind of commit to the group with 1 or 2 things that they're going to try. And we do it every month. It's super fun. And that's felt like a really good way to kind of connect with the community without the like internet troll part of it.
That's cool. I really like that. Yeah. And I feel like for like the people listening with the community aspect, it sounds like we're bitching about like community, like trolls and stuff, and bots. But I think what's hard, like for me, what's always been hard about this aspect, and you probably feel this too, Teresa, is like I interact with clients on a daily basis. I interact with like my contractors, but I don't have like a big company to like go around and talk to people every day. Like I'm not in an office with a lot of people. So I want to know like what people's problems are. I want to like talk about things with people. I want to like dive into deep discussions. I want to like help. And I also want to hear like what people are, worried about and have that like constant feedback loop. And I think that's the part where you can feel more connected to other people. And that's like why community is more important to me, because I'm just working from home otherwise.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of dimensions to this. I think some of it is like working in a company of one and like who are your peers and how do you connect with your peers? And I know a lot of us go to conferences, and that's a big part of the fun of a conference is you get to see your peers in person. I think some of it for me is it gets a little bit tied up with scale, and I know we'll get to scale, but like my biggest strength and my biggest weakness is that I want to help.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is where social media becomes really hard for me, because it's like an infinite feed of people asking for help. And so like I can jump in and overdo it, but I don't want to ignore people, like somebody who took the time to send me a message. And it's getting harder and harder to figure out who's genuinely sending a message, because some of these AI generated messages are kind of tricky. So I don't want anybody hearing this to think that like, oh, I just am cranky and don't like people. It really is getting hard to know like who I am kind of cranky and don't like people, but it is getting hard to like know like who's genuine. Like you asked a question, do you really want an answer, or are you just trying to get your name on my post?
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Cool. All right. So that was community. Let's go on to autonomy for you.
Yeah, autonomy is a good one. I gave myself a 9 on this one. I think one of my strengths in running my business is every year I do a reflection and I ask myself what is working well and what's not working well. And I cut out everything that's not working well. And so like from an autonomy standpoint, the only place I get into trouble is if I break my own rules. So I'm seeing that somebody is asking about the leadership sessions. If you go to producttalk.org, one of our most recent blog posts announced our upcoming events. And there's a link in that blog post to apply for those leadership sessions. Okay. So I've been really like I've been doing this for 13 years. So for 13 years, I've taken time to like at the end of every year to tweak and refine and kind of make it a better fit. But I'm still a little bit my own worst enemy, because I'll decide like, I'm not going to speak at conferences anymore. Travel is exhausting. I'm done. And then Petra, my friend, invites me to her conference. And so I go, and it was amazing. And I loved Product at Heart and I don't regret it. But they all add up, right? So with autonomy, I think where I get into trouble is just saying yes to too many things. And Melissa, I know this was on your list as well.
I love too. Yeah.
But I think autonomy is probably my strength. I think I'm good at crafting the lifestyle that I want.
Nice. Let's go on to mastery then.
Mastery. This one it's kind of tied to what I just said about autonomy, in the sense that like, I think I'm really good at like setting learning goals and diving deep on things and always having something that I'm geeking out on, as long as I don't commit to too many other things. So like last year for 2024, my big theme was I wanted to get better at like event-driven marketing. So I started doing a lot more webinars. I started doing a lot more like free email courses that then drive you to the webinars that of course drive you to my courses. And I joined this B2B marketing community and just geeked out on all things marketing. Whether it was, I mean, I've been content marketing for 13 years, but really like getting better at SEO and getting better at webinar marketing and email marketing, just all the things. And that was really fun because it was just different from product work. It's really similar to product work. I ran all the same experiments and whatnot, but it was a nice little avenue for just doing something that was a little bit different. And then for this year, I'm going to keep doing all that stuff because it was a lot of fun. And now I have like some good systems in place. But towards the end of last year, I started to really tinker with how generative AI can be used as a teaching tool and as a coaching tool. And so I have a handful of experiments that I'm running right now, nothing live yet, but where I'm playing with the LLM as like a role player to create practice space for students. So like the LLM being the interview participant, so you can practice interviewing, things like that. And that's a ton of fun. And I could spend full time on that, but there's the 17 other parts of my job that don't allow me to do that.
Cool.
I'm having a vision of the Matrix where Neo and Morpheus are in the tatami room straight away. I love those things.
Yeah, totally.
I'm having a lot of fun with Gen AI too, that I'll talk about when we get there. I think we're doing similar stuff in that area. Cool. I'm curious, like, what were your biggest takeaways from the marketing stuff that you learned?
I figured out how to promote events. We get over 1,000 people registering for almost all of our webinars.
Wow.
I think sometimes we even get as many as 3,000. I'm not willing to share what we tweaked to make that change, unfortunately. Melissa, if you're interested in this, I'll share with you on a not public channel. Okay. Barry, I'll share with you on a not public channel too. I just don't want to contribute.
Not Barry. Can't include.
I don't want to contribute to the world of everybody copying everybody's.
Yeah.
We don't need more crap on social media. But I think the event part of the marketing plan has gone really well. Like we find a lot of new people to connect with. Medium well at driving course sales. It's not like it's this magic thing that suddenly it's filling all our courses. Mm-hmm. As you know, the best way to fill our courses is through company relationships, and that's still our primary driver.
Yeah.
But it's nice. I like the resiliency it gives me in my business. Like when companies freak out and decide not to spend on training, I still have my direct-to-consumer business, and that's where the event stuff is really helpful.
Cool.
The email stuff, like the free email courses we do, we get a ton of engagement around them. Lots of people sign up and take them. Nobody clicks on anything, like nothing, like not even the free article to learn more. So I have more work to do on learning how to be persuasive to get you to take the next step from email.
Cool. That's awesome. Very interesting. All right, let's do purpose.
Purpose. What did I give myself? I think I did a 7 on purpose. And that's, so I struggle with this one. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Like, I have regularly said to myself, Teresa, if all you do in your life is convince more product teams to talk to a customer every week, you've probably done enough with your life. And like, I literally hear from product teams all the time who tell me that my work has done exactly that for them. So like, yay. And I can't let go of like, but am I really having an impact if it's just the 17th food delivery company that's talking to more customers? So like, I struggle with how much of the tech industry isn't working on important problems. And I really want to find like, how do I work more with the companies that are working on more meaningful problems, whether that's public sector or whether that's nonprofits or whether that's B Corps or whether that's just regular companies that are just doing more meaningful things. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And I don't really have a business model that allows me to like go specifically seek out those companies, right? I mean, I guess I do. Maybe that's a limiting belief. So I kind of wrestle with like, I love the work that I'm doing, and I love what I teach, and I think it has impact. But I have a lot of doubts about the impact of tech overall and the state of the tech industry right now, especially this past week. So I have struggles with this one. It's probably part of my burnout.
Yeah, I get that. Cool. Let's do scale.
Scale. I gave myself an 8 on this one. I feel pretty happy with the scale of my business. I'm still a one-person company. I have a kind of full-time admin, so technically kind of a 2-person company. Lots of contractors, lots of help, lots of other instructors, but we reach a lot of people every year, and that feels really good. I think I'm less about trying to scale. Like in my blog post yesterday, I talked about how scale makes me a little itchy because like I don't want to just focus on growth for growth's sake. I'm reframing it as like accessibility. And I think that reframing is helpful for me because it's more about how do I make my content available to people who want it?
Yeah.
Rather than how do I convince people this is what they should be doing? I'm not a missionary. Like I don't really want to be in the convincing you of a right way camp. I want to be more of an enabler. And so that's lately I've been thinking about scale more as just accessibility. How do I create more ways for people to connect if they want to, and not worry about what that means for the size of my business or the reach of my ideas?
Yeah, I've always thought about that kind of like, not as, I think there's like a lot of scale up mentality of growth for growth's sake that you're touching on there. But I always thought of scale as like, I only have so many hours in a day. How do I help as many people as I possibly can, rather than spending all my time, which I've done before in consulting, like with one like company or one person or like one group of people. And then you can't have as much impact on the rest of it. And if people need help and they're saying like, hey, I really could use your help and I really want this, you have absolutely no time for that. So that's always how I like pictured it too.
Yeah, this is what drove my switch from like full-time coaching to mostly being a course designer and like bringing on instructors is I would like my coaching business, I would spend a lot of time with a small number of teams.
Yeah.
And when you're a coach and you're working with a team that is not motivated because their boss is just telling them to do it, it is the worst. It's like, wow, I'm giving you so many hours of my life and you just don't care. And I worked with a lot of great teams. In fact, the majority of teams that I worked with were great teams. But it really like, I think, especially if you're in a teaching, speaking, training, coaching, whatever flavor business, choosing who you work with when you get to the point where you have that luxury, I realize it's a luxury, is so important.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great way to think of it. Barry, do you have any questions for Teresa?
Yeah, no, it's interesting just to hear everything you're saying. One of the things that keeps coming into my mind is this idea of like 100 true fans or 1,000 true fans, or what I hear is that like what matters most is meaningful connections with people who like really want to go deep on these topics together. And yeah, that's really, just listening to you, that's what I keep taking away from this, is like that's actually really the rewarding part for me personally too, or from what you're describing, is like I'd rather work with a concentrated group of folks who really care and really want to push their thinking and their capabilities than have huge numbers where it's sort of diluted. Yeah, fascinating to hear. So yeah, good start. Always good to get some creative thinking going when we're listening to each other. It's awesome.
Do you have any questions for the audience or for us, Teresa?
Oh, was that in my notes that I was supposed to think about?
You've got how to engage on social media without getting overwhelmed.
Thank you. Yeah. So we touched about this on community. This is the thing I struggle with most on a day-to-day basis. I don't want to write off the community. Like, I love being a part of the product community. I love engaging with people. I don't know how to do this on LinkedIn anymore. Like, even just this morning, I was like, maybe it's time to stop using LinkedIn. So if people have thoughts, people are finding things that are working for them, I would love feedback on that. The other thing I struggle with, and I think, Melissa, I saw this on your list a lot too.
Yeah.
I read a book 4 years ago called Ask Your Developer. This book is probably one of the most impactful books I've ever read. It was from, I think, one of the founders of Twilio, and he started writing about how like, he's writing it for people that are not engineers to like learn how to use your engineers. Like you shouldn't have humans doing mundane, repetitive things in your business. Like that's what software is for.
Yep.
And the reason why this book resonated for me is because I started my career as a software engineer. And it was like this light bulb moment of like, wow, there's so much tedious work in my business I'm manually doing that I should be automating. And so 3 years ago, I started coding again. I've written a ton of business logic code. I have automated all of our really horrible, tedious, like just run the business stuff. But I still struggle with like just how to, like I get to Thursday and I'm like, wow, I created nothing this week. I've been just doing administrative, run the business stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to flip that. Like I want Monday to Thursday to just be creative work and then Friday be run the business. And I've read all the books. Like I've read literally every book about how to like get out of your business. But I think it's still really hard day to day.
I agree. That's a hard one for me too. Cool. All right. If anybody has any suggestions for Teresa or what to look out for there, please submit them. Comment on our LinkedIn or our YouTube there. Now I think we're going to go to Barry. Teresa's turn to interview Barry.
Barry. All right. Do you want to start off with community?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So last time I gave myself 8, and this time I've given myself a 9, which I'm actually quite proud of. And probably a huge realization for me in probably towards the end of 2023 was that I was actually really lonely. I was working at home. I live in the Philippines now for folks who don't know that. But I was like getting up at 6 a.m., doing calls with the West Coast, working all day, go and do some exercise, do all my thing. My kids come home in the afternoon, then go back, have dinner, do more work in the afternoon. So I was spending like a huge amount of time on my own. And it was quite funny. It was actually through this type of experience, I was talking to one of my friends about how I was feeling. And she was like, oh, you sound lonely. And it was like this real aha moment that just sort of like, when you get struck by a penny drops or struck by lightning. So one of the things I really shifted last year was actually almost systematizing spending time with people. Everything from like, I picked a community that I was going to go and spend like a week with, where other entrepreneurs, builders, was fantastic. Went to an event in Monaco. It was amazing. But just immersing myself around people who were doing similar, interesting, hard things was really, really powerful for me. I joined like a rugby club here to start like going and socializing. All of these things I think were sort of big ahas for me that I didn't realize how much I was missing it. And so now I do simple things like, I go for lunch outside at least like once a week with people, just to get away from my desk. And it's actually amazing how transformational it's been for me, because I think it's so easy for us all to get into, the productivity, and I've got so much to do, but I've really remembered the value of slow thinking and the value of just conversation with people. It doesn't have to have an agenda. It's just like spending time with people. So yesterday, by pure happenstance, this guy, Dominic Cameron, who I was on the board with for just 3 things, he happened to be in Manila. His wife's Filipino, and we just went and had lunch, which was booked for an hour, and I stayed there for 2.5 hours, and we just talked. And so like little things like that probably have been a big breakthrough. So I've sort of committed to myself that I'm going to go and do like one sort of event every year where I go away for a week to spend time with people in that type of environment, to just really disconnect and have a mastermind type experience. And then just these little daily habits, if you will, by going for lunch once a week, or unstructured time is I think has been a big aha for me.
That resonates so much because I feel like we probably all really like what we do, and it's easy to fill all of our time with it. And I know, Barry, your whole family picked up and moved. Like, you had to like rebuild your local community.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I know my husband and I went through that right before COVID, and it's hard. Like, Melissa, I know you moved recently too. Like, it's really hard to just get reestablished as an adult and to rebuild those habits of like get out and see people.
Yeah, I have to say, like, moving brought me, I don't know, I think cities are lonely too. Maybe you experience this in Manila too, especially different country, right, Barry? But like, I moved to a small town. And everybody's like, why the hell did you move there? And I know everybody. I know almost everybody in town. Sometimes it's not great because you're like, wow, I run into everybody I know all the time, even if you want to get away from them. But it's been cool because like nobody does what I do. We talk about work in like a commiserating fashion, but it's not like I'm going to none of our dinners are just all about somebody's work, right? Because nobody really does the same thing. And it's been so nice to just have like friends outside of work to go hang out with and decompress and like turn your brain off from the stress, especially when you're thinking about it constantly all the other days.
This is so living in San Francisco when I think Barry and I used to be in San Francisco around the same time. When you meet people, the first question out of their mouth is, what do you do? Yeah. And everything is about work. Mm-hmm. Where I live in Bend, Oregon, the first thing people ask you is like, what are you doing for fun today? Because everybody here goes outside and plays like on a daily basis.
Such a difference.
And it is such a difference. Like, I now go outside and play every day because the people I'm surrounded by do that. Mm-hmm. I think it's just another reminder that like peers have such a big influence on our habits.
Yep.
Barry, any other thoughts on community?
No, just I really enjoyed. I still took away that point from you last time. What you were both talking about is this idea of a focused group of people. It really matters more, especially with these bots out here hunting us down. So pretty funny.
I love that you're systematizing it. If we had time, I would want to drill in more on that, but maybe we can do that in a follow-on conversation.
Yeah.
Let's dig into autonomy. I think last time you were 8, it looks like.
Yeah, so I was 8 last time, 7 this time. So, one of the joys of starting businesses, which in the Venture Studio, which is a business, but also startups that are in the Venture Studio, is I don't get to do a lot of the fun stuff anymore. I'm like the business janitor. I'm like going around like having to do all the things that need to be done. And it's one of the sad, I think, truths of when you're starting these things is that there's a lot of behind the scenes work that's not glamorous, that's not necessarily what I enjoy the most, what I'm even the best at. And you have to sort of do a lot of it. And one of the things I've had to practice really hard is be joyful for the success that other people are having rather than actually me doing anything fun that I enjoy. And having a sort of dopamine shot from that, it's definitely been one of these sort of things I've got to constantly remind myself is that the greater outcome is that as a company and as a unit we're growing and making progress. And for me it's like, okay, I'll go get to clean up the dishes now and wipe the table down, and I'm glad you've all enjoyed your dinner. So it's.
I'm chuckling because I know that you started at Nobody Studios not too long after you became a parent. And it sounds like a perfect analogy.
It is. Yeah, I'm doing it in all facets of my life, Teresa. I'm going around picking up after everybody and tidying up, So, I joke that you can't help but feel FOMO, when people are, and some of the things that are just really fascinating to see is as are people building these companies and these products and trying different things, just seeing the technologies and what people can make and how they do it. It's just super fun. And I think maybe I'm just like, ooh, I'd love to be in there playing around with some of these tools and doing what needs to be done. So yeah, but as I say, I'm practicing celebrating joy and other people enjoying that. So yeah, that's just part of the deal, I think.
You know, that last piece really resonated with me because I know you probably felt this when you were consulting too. Like sometimes like I miss the day-to-day of like working with engineers and building a product. And I do sometimes think like, oh, it'd be fun to go run a product team again somewhere.
Yeah.
But I also remind myself like how great it is to have this point of view across businesses. And I can imagine that's similar at Nobody Studios. Like you're not digging in with one company, but you actually have this like across 14 companies view.
Yeah. Well, like I know you're, as you alluded to, like oh yes, we got the dog on finally. Great. Hi, Oscar. Oscar, my
this
kids
is
called
Dakota.
Oscar. Oh, there's another one, Dakota.
This
Okay.
is my boyfriend's dog.
Recovering dog.
Hit by a car, so she's recovering, but she's doing well. But she is very upset she's left behind, so she was going nuts in the other room. I had to go grab her.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Sorry to interrupt you guys.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, but I know we all love systems, as you were sort of alluding to, right? Like it's actually one of the things I probably have learned the most that has surprised me in when we started the studio. I thought I'd like building the startups and like the product aspect of them. But actually what I enjoy the most is building the systems of the company. That's actually what I have enjoyed the most. So it is like I too started off as an engineer, and I feel like it's this continuous like abstract problem. As you find like practices that work well, you want to like elevate them to the studio level and systematize them and automate them. But you also have to create like this flexibility that not every team is going to work in the same way, you know? So it's always a fun, fascinating problem about its idea almost of creating best practices that can be automated and give you this sort of speed and consistency. But you also need this flexibility that the teams can sort of go off the paved road, if you will, and then do the things that are very unique to their business to help them succeed, and they don't get trapped in the bureaucracy. So yeah, it's been super fun, just like constantly working that problem. And yeah, so that again, that actually gives me joy, if you will, out of some of the things that I have to do is like designing that aspect to the studio and the companies has been super fun.
That framing just made me think it sounds a lot like product operations.
Does sound like it.
It does, yeah, no, absolutely. You know, like because one of the things with a portfolio is that you're constantly trying to get insight without putting overhead on the team. And like the whole purpose of these companies is that they should be moving fast, making decisions, and but you want to do it in a relatively controlled way, right? Like it's not like sort of, oh yeah, off you go, do what you want. I'm sure your customer told you to do that. Like there's an element of governance that you need at the studio level to also help the teams keep aligned on what success is for them. And the way we work is sort of, it's almost like they get mini funding tranches for hitting certain outcomes, right? Like we manage risk by having a pool of capital available to the company, but it's sort of micro funding, right? It's like gated to say, right, like you do the prototype. If you get 5 customers giving X amount of feedback, then you'll get, you get a tranche that's twice the size of the last one you got. And so it allows us to sort of gracefully sort of invest in things that work and things that don't turn out working and iterating them. So yeah, building that whole system has been super fun and interesting. I can't say that it's perfect, it never is, but it's certainly the thing I've probably enjoyed most out of all of this, to be honest. Yeah.
That's really cool.
That is really cool. Okay, was that was autonomy or was that mastery?
That was it, yeah.
That was autonomy.
It, yeah.
Let's get to mastery. I think you were at 8 last time.
Yeah, no, I still feel like I'm at 8. So one of the things, one of the reasons I wanted to get back into building things was, just stuff that I don't know a lot about and wanted to learn. And, my role has shifted substantially in the studio over the last couple of years. Initially, as I said, it was shifting from building and go to market and growth. But now a lot of my stuff is around growth and investor relations and fundraising. I've just learned a bunch about that, which has been super fun and interesting. Fundraising, surprise, surprise, is not the most glamorous job in the world for anybody out there who's thinking about doing it. This is one of my sort of janitor pick up the toys tasks, you know, where I've got, but it's great to meet people, and then trying to use automation and agents in that space has been like super fun. So again, because I come from an engineering background, anything I do twice, I just try to automate it. And we've built some really tools that have really surprised me actually about how we can create these matches between folks. Like we all have these great networks, but you never know what anyone's doing, right? We might have tens of thousands of followers on LinkedIn, but I've no idea what Mary or Bob are doing right now at this moment in time. So I've built some really cool tools to like create these warm introductions between venture funds that we're looking for and people in the studio with their network. And like our response rate to like cold outreach is like 40x to industry standard in terms of like response rates to pitching. So we're actually building products, I think, that you could release into the market later, which that's been super fun. So yeah, I'm learning that, and that's given me a lot of fun in doing it.
Sounds like your 15th company might be right around the corner.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's this is maybe one we can talk about it towards the end. It's like, what do these? I'm really fascinated. I don't believe in the one person unicorn company. I just think that's a little bit of just marketing spiel. But I do. One of the things I've been playing around with is this idea that we had this notion of 2 pizza teams that really disrupted the notion of teams moving fast in big companies. But I almost feel like with a lot of this automation, you could get to like 2 slice teams, like 2 slices of pizza, because you literally only need a couple of people, an engineer, sales, marketing, and growth, and you can really do amazing things. Like one of our companies, Evalify, it's a great company. You upload a pitch deck, it runs an intellectual property rights and patenting check against 200 million patents in 170 jurisdictions.
Cool.
It does it in 10 minutes for $250, right? A lawyer would charge you 30 grand to do that. And the quality of what this team can create, which is literally someone doing product, an engineer, and then another person supporting on data science, and a salesperson if you want them. And like that again, this stuff is really fascinating to me, that you can build these like robust, very niche businesses with very small teams. So yeah, that's been a big aha for me, just sort of watching and playing a little part in that.
That's cool.
I love this topic. We could nerd out on this topic forever, Barry. I know
we're all nerding on it. I can sense the nerds growing
so
in both of you. Yeah.
There's so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll go with my purpose then as well a little bit. But like again, I do really, I love building what I'm building. I know we all love helping people. I still love doing advising work and helping other companies when those opportunities arise. Like I really do enjoy it. And I think again, the thing that matters, which I heard both of you talk about, is there's a huge sense of reward in seeing people achieve what they're trying to achieve and playing a small part in that. And whether it's building companies or helping a team do discovery, or someone getting promoted to a CPO, like all of these things that we all try to help people with, I think is awesome. So I get a huge amount of reward from that. And and then maybe the scale piece again. I think you both talked about this, like really interesting. Like for me, like we have a bold goal of 100 companies in 5 years. It's bold for a reason, right? I don't expect us to get there, but I like the idea of this sort of thinking big to stretch your mind. We haven't gone as fast as we had hoped. That's sort of, it's definitely been, I think the last 18 months in terms of venture world have been extremely difficult. It's almost like a venture winter, I would describe it almost like. Some of the companies we've built, I think, are fantastic companies, and yet they've struggled to get traction, especially in the fundraising market. So it's that sort of thing is one of these things where I'm still sort of wrestling with the idea of what does scale really mean to me. But I probably have taken away from listening to you earlier, both of you two, this notion again of 100 true fans or 1,000 true fans. I just think it matters more and more and more. And even when we're building these companies, I think this notion that you can really niche down now, like super niche down, and build something that's interesting as a product or offer it as a business service. I just think we're just at the cusp of a really fascinating shift there, where you can get to these meaningful relationships with people, and whether you're, as you say, advising or coaching with them, or you're building products for them. And a small team, I have a huge another respect for, not everybody has to try and build a venture backable company. I actually think cash flow businesses are maybe a better and more sustainable model, and it's better probably even for the economy, because you are creating these lots of small businesses, right? And that's actually what keeps the economy and everything ticking along. So yeah, that's probably been some of the big ahas for me in that space. Is everyone is always thinking, oh, I get a pitch deck, I have a product, I have to go get venture funding. No, if you can build a product and even get a recurring revenue of 100,000 a year, that's a badass business to be the owner of. And you can run it from your home, you can run it from wherever you want, and you have a profitable business, and you can sell it. There's great, so I'm an investor in acquire.com. They're a platform that specializes in selling small businesses. And if you build a cool business that you like and get it into revenue, you can sell it there too as well. So not everything has to be this sort of unicorn exit type idea. You can build small and sell businesses for $500,000, $1 million, $2 million. That's an amazing accomplishment, and that opportunity is out there now. So pretty cool.
I also think we might be on the cusp of like personalized, like personal technology, right?
Yeah.
Like there's probably going to be agencies out there that literally build software for one.
Yeah.
Because building software is becoming so cheap. I don't know. I think it's cool. I think it's going to be, I think the future is here.
Yeah, no, I'm down. That's exactly my mentality with a lot of this stuff. And yeah, great. Well, maybe we can do a show on that again next time. It's good, because I think it's a really interesting topic. And then just some updates. Yeah, like we're doing our Series A for nobody now at the moment, which is pretty fun. So excited to see if we can get to that stage with the studio. Lots of the startups like Avalify are raising money for themselves. So yeah, this Q1 and Q2 is going to be me doing a lot of fundraising. So if anybody's interested in what we're doing, definitely follow me on various different channels. And it's always fun to just share the kind of businesses that we're building. And I'm very interested in even building masterminds and communities around this space. I feel like there are these little things we're even talking about here today, right? Like these 2 slice pizza business builders. That could be a really fun community to sort of create. So I'd again, asking people if there's communities they feel like they're missing or lacking. I'd love to hear about that, because that's something that's pretty interesting to me. All right, cool. All right, let's get Melissa on deck here. And all right, now Melissa.
Hello.
Now Melissa is known for a very harsh score on herself. So let's see how she gets on this year. Okay, Melissa, community. Last time you were a 6. Where are you now, and how is life going?
I brought it up to a 7 this time.
Wow.
I know. I gave myself a point. And I wrote, part of it was I've been going to a lot more conferences, and I really like conferences. Because I get to interact with peers, like Product at Heart that Teresa was calling out. Like last year, I got to see like Martin Erickson there, and I got to like hang out with a bunch of my friends and John Cutler. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I haven't seen you guys in so long. And I love that the product conferences kind of bring our community together, and I get to meet people, and I talking to attendees and stuff. It was just really cool. And hearing everybody else's perspectives on stuff. Like I love those types of events because I learn from people and I just get to connect, and I always feel like refreshed and excited when I come home. Of course, it's like a lot in 2 days to talk to so many people, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, that feels good. Like that's my big interactions for like the month or whatever. So I really like that. I also, like we mentioned with when we were talking about Teresa, like I've never been a real big community builder. So I'm trying to like, I don't even know if it's worth me trying to do those things. Right. And
Yeah,
I'm trying to just
completely, yeah.
choose my battles here of all the stuff that I have going on anyway. And yeah, I'm like looking for ways to keep some of the communities I started, like CPO Accelerator, which started as a course, but then we've got a Slack channel for people to talk to, and like how do you just seed that so people find it valuable but not have to like run it all the time and seed all those conversations. That to me is like the hard part. So like I'm not really interested in building online communities that I have to seed or do a lot. So that's been something I feel like I'm coming to terms with finally. Right? It feels like everybody was like, you have to do this, you have to build a community, you have to do that, and I just it's not where I find energy, right? And it's not one of the many list of things that I do. Like I do too much anyway.
But it's funny when you talk about this. Like you are generally, I'd say, of all the people I know, someone who loves conferences, the in person. Like you all, anytime I'm with you at one or I've seen you after one, like you are, your energy is like,
yeah,
as you say, yeah, because that's for me, that's a signal, as you say, right? Like it's a, your mind can play tricks on you, but your if you will, your body can't, right? And you always seem to have that replenishment, if you will, from going to spend time with people at these things. You were always like so excited, like, oh, this is coming up, it's interesting.
Yeah, I love them. I just like it's exhausting almost in the minute of how much energy you have to put in, because I am like an introvert at heart, but I just feel like those deep connections that you get at conferences is where I like met most of my friends. Is where I met most people that I know in the community. So I love that. And I also like reflecting on it. I used to go to the big Agile conference like back from 2014. And now it's just like the Scrum show. But I met so many people who were like true Agile practitioners there and who were like pushing boundaries and had wild thoughts and stuff. And I learned so much from them. And I felt like I just ate it all up. And that's how I got introduced to like all these concepts I never really would have learned about had I not gone to these conferences and like talk to people. And that's what makes it exciting for me. I'm like, I like to go places where I can learn new things and talk to people about their experiences. And if I'm going to a conference and I'm not learning anything or I'm not meeting anyone, it's, it doesn't make sense for me. But as long as there's that element to it, it makes me excited. So I'm excited that they're picking back up. That's
nice.
that's a big highlight for me. So,
all right. Autonomy. Last time 8.
This time I put 7. I said it's kind of hard to complain because I have a lot of control over what I sign up for, but I just sign up for too many things. So, it's my own doing. So I war with this where I'm like, I probably should rate this higher, but it kind of feels like I don't have a lot of autonomy because it's not like on a day-to-day basis, I could just say, I'm not doing that because stuff has to get done. Right. So I have a hard time saying no. I've hired more people strategically. I know when we started doing this at the end of like 2020, 2021, I had a bunch of full-time employees and consultants and stuff. And I shut that part down, which helped a lot. Now that I have contractors, everybody's pretty self-sufficient. I do mentor some of them and help grow them. Some of them are earlier in their careers, but I still have to like strategically like do the strategy and make sure they know what they're doing and, like feed the beast, let's say. So if I don't do that, then like there's no point in anybody doing their work, right? They don't feel fulfilled. So I don't feel like I have as much autonomy from like an individual basis to just, do whatever I want. I gotta keep it all moving, right? So that's where I rate that a little bit lower. I like my main business too is sell it like Product Institute, like we sell courses, but to do that, and especially to do sales well, like you have to forge relationships with these businesses. So lately, like I said, I wasn't going to do any more consulting. And I've been pretty good at that. Like I've been good at structuring it, but I have been going into work with executive teams, doing like workshops on product transformations, helping them with like a little assessment, but then kind of coaching them. And I don't do it like on a weekly basis, but coaching them periodically through the transformation. And it's been cool because I get to stay in touch. My problem is always like staying in touch with people longer. Over this time, I'd come in, I'd do a body of work consulting, I'd leave and I'd be like, okay, how'd that go? And this model is nice because I kind of like stay for, 1.5 to 2 years, and I check in with them quarterly and I help steer them in the right direction, and they go do the work. But I'm the resource that kind of tells them like what we should be doing, connects them with other people who might be able to help them with the work on a deeper level, or kind of steers them in the right direction for the roadmap, answers questions, that type of stuff. And I enjoy that a lot because I get to dive really deep into the problems. But I'm not
absolutely.
40-hour a week consulting, which is good. But the more those pop up, the more I've got to like stop, dive deep into a company, put together the workshop, do the assessment, keep on tabs with it, do all that stuff. So it takes away from the scale, I guess, of, doing the courses and things like that. So there's kind of like a two-sided piece. Like I never want to be, I feel like the consulting also keeps me, or the coaching and the workshops and stuff like I do with that, it like keeps me in touch with what's going on with the businesses, and it helps me steer them in the right direction and make sure I'm not like losing touch of what's happening in the market as well. But it's not like it's the most leverageable thing I could be doing. So that also, plays into the autonomy part. And I think I have to get better at saying no sometimes, but I really like fun problems to solve. So anytime I hear about that, I get really excited. So
Yeah, well, that resonates a lot, right? And especially when it's a fun problem, right? Like it is really enjoyable to work with companies, helping them almost like, as you say, is whether you're in there doing periodic consulting or advising, but it's not 40 hours a week. It's this idea that you can sort of be available for them. Like I really enjoy that too as well. It just gives you a different perspective of, as you say, a lot of what's actually going on, or reminds me sometimes a lot of like, oh, that's a really tough problem to solve again. And what do I think about that? And no, I think it's great you're doing that. And yeah, as you say, like trying to balance not doing too much of it, but some of it is a really important part of what you do. I think that's great.
I do that too with board roles. It's like not something I mentioned, but I'm on the board of a company called Meister, and I was on the board of a company called Forsta. And I love those roles too, because like you go really deep. Like I'm looking at the data for their product strategy. I'm advising them on it. I'm working with the chief product officer. Like I like partner with the CEO on it. And it's like really, really deep into a company. But again, I'm not doing it like 40 hours a week. It's when it's crunch time and we're resetting product strategies, maybe like 10 hours a month. But when it's, things are set and it's in motion and we got to check back in, like I check in for an hour or two, like a month. So it fluctuates, but it also lets me follow a company for a longer term and help. And I feel like I have a lot of impact there, but I get to work on interesting problems and kind of work with, their teams and mentor them in that phase and make sure it gets to where it's going. So I like that part too.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Mastery 7 last time. What about this?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Can I jump in with a question?
Yeah.
Melissa, sure. Have you ever worked with like a partner that does that consulting when you do the training?
Yeah. So I've been working a lot with Denise. She does most of our product ops consulting. So she'll go in and go really deep. And then I'll work with I'll do my executive workshop. We'll bring Product Institute in. But anytime, I'm getting a lot of it now, obviously from the book, but a lot of people are like, hey, I'm the product ops lead. Can you help me set up my product ops in the org? And Denise has been doing all that work, going really deep with everybody, which is great. So I like working with other people that I can refer or just like send in, and then I try to connect them. And I always say that when people reach out, I'm like, I can't come in and do all of this, but like, here's what I do. And if you need something more, I'll just get you to the right person.
Yeah. Cause I do a lot of that. Like, I don't want to be a consultant at all. Yeah. But I mean, so much of what I do overlaps with what SVPG does. So I can just follow SVPG around, which is really nice. And then I don't have to do that transformation work. Cool. But like this is partly how mine and Hope Gurion's relationship works. She does a lot of leadership coaching. So then when people come to me for leadership coaching, they just go to Hope.
Yeah.
So that could be a good way to get some scale and not get too bogged down in the consulting piece.
Yeah. I've been leveraging partnerships like that a little bit more. I think like my problem is I always go, ooh, that sounds fun. Right. Like, and then I'm like, jump into it. And I'm like, oh, that's a really cool company. Like, this is a Fortune 5 company. Of course I want to go see what you're doing. Like, let me dive in there. I want, I use you every day as a product. I want to see what's going on. So
Yeah.
I get really excited to say yes to all that because then I get to see what's actually happening.
I make that mistake a lot too.
Yeah, it's like the shiny object syndrome where I'm
And
like,
it is fun, right? It's just
Yeah.
fun up until a point. Like
Yeah.
you can have too much of it and then it's not fun.
Exactly. So that's my big thing because speaking of burnout, like I burned out really hard at the end of 2020 and it took me like a good, I want to say 3 years to get to a spot where I just felt like I could do any work anymore. And just normal, like everyday stuff. So I know it was from doing way too much context switching and way too much work that didn't give me energy. Like just too much on my plate, right? Like having too many things to worry about. So I do worry about that. And I'm trying to like make sure I don't overcommit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear
Nice.
you on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good. All right, mastery 7 last time.
I'd say 7 this time. Maybe a little more. Maybe I'd be like kind to myself and give myself an 8 here. But
Oh, nice. Yeah, go for 8. Awesome.
yeah,
Yes.
Barry's fixing it on our little sheet. I like that. So I've been really excited. I've been doing a lot more product work lately, I'd say, and getting into, back to the roots. So like we moved Product Institute off of a third-party platform that we had forever called Teachable onto our own platform that we built from scratch. And we literally like just moved the functionality over, but now I'm going back through it and trying to figure out this allows us to do whatever the hell we want, which I'm really excited about. So now it's been, what do we want to do? And my biggest issue with training and teaching, it was always that people can't try it unless they're either in the role or they have those opportunities to do it. So for the last year and a half, I want to say, almost 2 years now, I've been, hired another engineer. We've got 2 now, and we've been exploring how AI can help us with that. So we built in the product strategy course that's going to come out next month, hopefully. It's pretty much done. We built all of these AI activities where you can chat with it asks you questions and you can answer it in a free form way. And it marks if it's right or not. Sorry, Dakota's going crazy over here. So it's been really cool because now I did a fake case study in here where I'm like, you're the product manager of this company. Here's the setup. Here's what's going on. And then we teach them the skills, and then they get to interact with these AI activities and then actually test the skills. And it's not just a multiple choice. We have multiple choice stuff in there too, but it's not just a multiple choice quiz. It's hey, write this stuff out and it'll critique if it's good or not. Or a choose your own journey type activities as well. How would you respond to this? How would you do that to actually interact with it? So that was fun, not only to be able to do those activities, but I learned so much about AI and Gen AI doing it, where I was we compared Llama and we compared OpenAI, and every time there was a new release, we would go and say, hey, can this do what we want versus can that do what we want? So I got a really good solid foundation in what's out there and what's possible and what can you use certain things for and what can't you, which I think also helped me be able to navigate a lot of product conversations with companies about AI and stuff like that too. But to me, I think it's really cool. I'm also excited about all of these product ops companies that are kind of coming out there and using a lot of Gen AI to do stuff that I hired full-time employees for. We had 2 full-time analysts pulling all the data out of Salesforce and Gong and analyzing it and making all this information and going through user research stuff. And now you can feed all that stuff into AI and it can summarize it for you. And you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then there's tools out there that are pulling all that information together and summarizing it. So from a mastery perspective about stuff I'm excited about, I went super deep on that last year. And I just think the AI things are amazing and really changing product, but I'm excited that I got a chance to dive into it and build stuff with it. So I got to play with it myself and learn. So I felt like I learned a lot last year, which was cool.
And can I ask about building your own platform? This is that's quite a departure from creating especially with learning management systems and so forth. That's quite an interesting choice.
I reviewed all of them and none of them would do what I wanted. I know Teresa went down this path too, because we talked about it a lot. And I did not want to build my own platform. It was a necessity. It was just that everything out there was designed to not do what I want to do. And I do want to part of the reason why I did this is I'm trying to see if there is a market for people like me or Teresa, who have these types of products, and the regular learning management systems out there are not working. So I've been doing a lot of thinking of like, what would it be? Because we have our own, but I'm like trying to extrapolate it and see maybe there's another product in here that I can sell to other people too.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
All right, purpose.
My thumbs down was to Teachable, not to Melissa.
Teachable, I know.
Off of
I understand.
Teachable.
Yeah,
I got
Teachable
a
was
sense,
not great for what we did.
Sadly, they don't seem to. They get that a lot from what I gather. All right, purpose. Last time you were in 9.
Yeah, this time I think 8. I think I just keep going back and forth where I'm like, I feel like what I do is like my calling, and this is great. It gives me energy. Like I love product management. But I always keep going like, should I be doing something else like that has a bigger impact? Like one thing I think that was settling in this year as I got deeper into the AI stuff and the product ops stuff was like, did I miss the boat? Should I have built like one of those product ops tools? And I kind of kick myself sometimes where I'm like, I could have done that. Like I was right there. And then I'm like, should I do that myself, or do I just keep doing what I'm doing? I love what I'm doing. I think part of it is this year I didn't take like a proper vacation. And last year I took like a month off in August in 2023, which was amazing. And then I came back and I was like, oh, I'm ready to go. Like, let's do it. And I think sometimes when I get too bogged down in the everyday like work stuff, or like too overwhelmed with it, I'm just like, am I doing what I should be doing, or should I like do something else? So I'm having one of those little moments right now. But I do think I'm doing what I love. I think about sometimes just how do I like free up more space to just chill.
Yeah.
Not be the person who has like it all comes down to at the end of the day too, which has been my goal for the last 5 years that I have not figured out.
Yeah, no, like, and I think also just the nature of even world information, there's so much things happening at the moment that are interesting and fascinating, and it's very easy to like go, oh, that's cool. Oh, I'd love to experience that. Or, like, I certainly feel a lot of that, like the FOMO when I see people building cool stuff. I'm like, I want to build something like that. It's like, no, it's hard. It's hard to like, and even sometimes wonder like, what it's grass is greener. Am I doing the right thing? But you're doing great stuff. So yeah, awesome. Scale 8.
Vocal dog over here. She is such a like if she doesn't get all the attention all the time, she goes crazy. So thanks for letting her join our little camps model. Let's see, scale. I put 7 this time because I'm slipping back into the consulting work. I said like it's cool because more and more companies want to work with us. And I'm still limiting. I feel like I'm still being good because I'm limiting it to workshops. Every once in a while, I'll do something custom here or there. And then I like go, ooh, why did I do that? But if I can limit, my rule is like, if I can limit it to a day, okay, fine, right? I'll do it. If I can't limit it to a day, or this is going to take on forever, I'm like, I'll move it to something else. So I try to think about like time boxing it and how much time is this actually going to do? And is it going to open up doors for other stuff I do, right? Like, so if it's not like they want to work with us in other ways or like bring in training or anything like that, I can't commit to it because I have to focus on the other stuff. But if it's something that goes hand in hand with that, I take it. So the problem with it though, is it does limit my time to dealing with one person, like one company, rather than multiple. Scale wise too, I hired a learning designer this year that has been great. So she's been helping with the product strategy course. And I just learned another part, like I learned a lot about teaching. I feel like working at Harvard, I learned a lot about teaching different types of ways. And now from her, I'm learning a lot about like how to design courses well and how to design learning well. And that's been great. It's taken a lot of the like stuff I don't love about putting courses together away, and I can focus more on the content piece, and she can take it and put it into the right forms of stuff, and then go back and forth with me. And that's been fantastic. I've been using a lot of Gen AI tools too for scale. So the activities I said too, but also like streamlining writing. Like I am bad at blank page things. So I'll dump a bunch of stuff into like a Claude or something like that and let it do it for me. And then I'm a control freak, so I will rewrite it. But it gets me like 50% of the way there, and takes my time of like writing a blog post from what would be probably like 2 hours for me because I'm just slow, to 30 minutes. And I'm like, cool, I can crank this out, which really helps. And it helps me like brainstorm different things too. So I've been using that a lot just to help me get my thoughts on paper and take away some of that stuff, formatting things, right? Like writing stuff out and to format it the correct way. That's been great for scale, and it's saved me a lot of time as well. The podcast was always a scale play as well for me, answering questions, and that's been good. We now have like a great library of questions that people answer, and I see people asking the same question, and I could be like, hey, I answered that already. And that is what I did it for. Like, so I didn't have to answer the same question over and over again. So now I actually have an opportunity to like send people the clips for it. I'm trying to make it so that you can actually search it and point people towards it a little bit better. But that was the whole point of trying to do the podcast. So it's been great. I got to hear people's stories, and I got to also answer questions at scale. So
yeah, no, the best. All right. So what about anything you want to do, call outs, and then we'll go and have a look at some of these Slido questions people have put up.
Well, we are launching a mastering product strategy course in Q1 by the end of March. This took me forever to do, so I'm really excited that it's actually coming out. And if people are interested, you go to productinstitute.com and learn more about it. What else? I also would say, subscribe to the Product Thinking podcast. We are taking advertisers. My goal for 2024 was to get advertisers, and we finally have some advertisers. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're seeing good results there. So if anybody wants to advertise on it too, let me know.
All right, wicked.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So to finish our next little segment, let's take on some of these questions on Slido, right? So we've got a bunch, so maybe like spend 1 minute answering each one of them. And I'm going to start with you, Teresa, because this feels like a question for you. How is AI influencing and accelerating product discovery? What do you think?
Short answer is it's changing every day. So here's how I would think about it.
Right.
The point of discovery is to have fast feedback loops with our customers. That means you still have to talk to real humans, no matter what AI can do for you. AI can help with scheduling and recruiting and even some of the synthesis and the summarizing, but don't let it replace talking to real humans. I don't think that should ever change.
Great, love it. Okay, Melissa, this one's probably a good one for you. How do you find your niche and story for product coaching business? You all have a wide range of experience and interests. How do you find your thing?
It's funny. I actually had Lenny on my podcast talking about this like back in the day, because at first, like, I reached out to Lenny and I was like, hey, we kind of do the same thing. Like, you're teaching on Maven, I'm doing this. We both have podcasts. We both launched our podcast at the same time. Obviously, his did a lot better than mine. But I was like, what do you like? Where were, how did you think about that? And for me, it was a lot of trial and error. Like, I tried a lot of things and I realized that some of them didn't give me energy. Like I said, community building doesn't give me energy. Consulting long-term doesn't give me energy. It didn't work, right? Like, it doesn't work for my model. What gave me energy was like teaching. I loved teaching and I loved doing that at scale. Like, how do I build things that help a lot of people? So I always just kept going back to that. But I tried like many different things over the years. And I think it's a lot of like, you have to try it before you know if you're going to love it or not. And then you have to play to your strengths. Like, I know I'm a good teacher. I'm like not fantastic at building a newsletter or a community. Like, I don't know how to do that. And I know it's not my strength. So I, try to play to your strengths is a big piece of that too.
Nice. Okay. I might take the next one then. Can you recommend any tools, in your opinion, that have evolved considerably with AI to streamline PM growth hacking processes? So as someone who's been playing around a lot with the agents, there's a couple of tools that I would definitely recommend people maybe start with. I don't have any deals with any of these people, so don't take it as granted. But I think make.com is a really good one. It's a very visual tool where you can chain together tasks and play around quite visually, but also start to play around with automating different things. And that could be anything from doing outreaches to, You know, a classic one is if you say are doing meetings and you have an AI transcription in it, you can get the transcription downloaded, passed to a GPT to summarize in a structure and a format that you like, and email it out to the team like straight after the meeting. Right? They're fun little things that you can play. Claude is also a really good one that a lot of people are enjoying. But the thing I would always say is you should try and do one of these like 30-day challenges with these tools. Like pick just a set of them or even a little course of it and just start playing, because the only way you can learn it is by doing it. You can't read this stuff in a book. You got to play around with it is what I would say. All right, one more question each then. Netflix, Gib isn't here, so you'll have to ask him about that one. I'll just go down. Melissa, there's a question. How will the CPO accelerator evolve in 25? What's that one going to be?
I'm wondering if it's a CPO accelerator or if they mean the CPO role. I think they mean.
Oh,
the CPO
sorry. Yeah, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm screen reading. Thank you for correcting that.
I like the plug, Barry.
I'm here to help.
I've got dogs behind me just making lots of noises. Sorry. I think CPO role, one, we've been talking a lot about how it's becoming more of a business focused role, and I don't think that's going to slow down at all in 2025. I think CPOs are going to have to really they should have always done this, but like the people who are like more business focused, I think they're going to have a lot more handle on like what tech is out there that can enable what they're doing. For example, like in AI, I see a lot of like super business focused CPOs that don't understand the tech, misusing AI or misusing those strategies and building them without the context around it. So I do think like this role is just more important than ever. It is the hybrid between like good product, as we talk about product, like business and technology. And if you don't bring all three of those together, that's where I see people struggle. So I think that's going to be more important now as we've got all of these different technologies coming out like at lightning speed that allows us to do all this stuff. You have to figure out how to leverage it. And then you have to be able to pull that back into the business. So whereas I think we could get away with it in the past, like not having as much of that technical knowledge, like I think it's going to become more important now.
All right. One for Teresa here. In the enterprise level matrixed environment, that sounds scary already.
Let's do the prototyping one, Barry.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, go for it. Fire ahead.
Pros and cons of using no-code applications for easy and fast prototyping to validate ideas. This is really what was behind my comment of we're just about to see personal technology. And I think if you're in the product space, you have to get comfortable with this. Like today, you could go to Cursor or Replit and literally create an app, like with a database behind it, a UI, without writing a line of code. It is crazy. And I think these are going to become our prototyping tools like before the end of the year. Like I think this technology is here. It's working good enough for prototype purposes. It would not surprise me if before the end of the year, it is working good enough for small scale production purposes. Yeah. And so what do I mean by small scale production purposes? Pick something that you wish existed for you personally. Use one of these tools, build it, use it personally. It's already good enough for that. So I really think like what's exciting about this technology is we're all going to be able to build whatever technology we want for ourselves. I think there's still going to be a lot of engineering involved in building technology for other people. But prototyping is about to get radically changed. I think it already has for those of us that are using these tools.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. The last two blogs I wrote in the last 2 months are all about this, right? So one is just the lessons learned from using some of these tools, and then another is this idea of a bootstrap revolution. Like we in the studio, like this is sort of one of our core pillars for scaling and iterating and building products. Is actually you can get to the prototype level with that first 100 customers with these tools, and it's scalable enough to learn, right? If you go, if it goes super viral, well, so be it. It's a great problem that your infrastructure is failing because you have so many customers at your front door. But yeah, no, this is fascinating. So I shared a couple of blogs on that. All right, last but not least, feedback, right? Surprise, surprise. We all love feedback. this is always a fun experiment, just to share with the community our lessons learned. I certainly get a huge amount just even listening to Melissa and Teresa's stories. Gibbs, when he's around, and maybe he'll be watching this on his drive to Idaho. We should just wave hi, Gib. Gib is the master of feedback. He spends his whole life dedicated to capturing it. I think he's SurveyMonkey's #1 customer and user. But yeah, so please do share your feedback with us. What was good? What would you like to see more of? It's a fun thing to do. So yeah, but we're also doing it to share with people and inspire them. Maybe you set up your own personal board of directors to do something similar. So yeah, please do share that with us. All right. So then, just to close, maybe one reflection from everybody. So Teresa, what about you? We started with you. What sort of one reflection you have after us all spilling our guts here about life and times of what we're all up to?
I honestly, this has just helped with knowing that like the things that I swirl about, like there was so much overlap between mine and Melissa's stuff. And I mean, it makes sense. We run very similar businesses, but it helps knowing that like I'm not just crazy in my head over here. And then I'm gonna cheat a little bit and give a quick second one, which is just that it's fun to see everybody so excited about generative AI and what it unlocks. Like it's just a blast. It feels like 1995.
I think it's exciting about this will be my takeaway too. Like I'm so excited to hear how we're all leveraging it to like get time back, but we're so excited about it. Right. Like I think it's probably one of the most useful things that's come around in a while. And I think that's why we're so excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And just, again, maybe goes back to the community thing. I'm grateful to be just around folks like you and loads of people that have joined the show. It really helps my thinking move forward. And I always get some ahas just like listening to other people and reflecting on, what's my viewpoint on what matters to me, or what are the things I am good at and not good at. And it's okay not to be good at them. What's my focus? They're some of the big things I'm always left with. So yeah, thank you both for doing this. And thanks everybody for joining. Again, don't forget to hit the feedback form. Gib will kill me if I don't say it 15 times before we finish up. So do make sure you take out your phone, scan the QR code, click the link in the channel. And yeah, thanks very much, everybody. And maybe we'll see you all again next year. Who knows? All right, take it easy.
Thanks, everyone.